Also this afternoon, the minority in Parliament is actually described as false claims by President Akufo-Addo that the country has so far spent about 17.7 billion Ghana cedis since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. According to the ranking member on the Health Committee, Kwabena Minta-Kando, the 2021 budget pegged the COVID-19 expenditure for the year 2020 at a little over 18 billion Ghana cedis. He insists government is concealing the actual amount spent on COVID so far. But in a sharp rebuttal, Health Minister Kweku Agyeman says the figures contained in the budget are provisional and do not reflect the actuals. Kwesi Parker-Wilson is our parliamentary correspondent, joins us with more details on this. First of all, Parker, what's the confusion about how much we've spent so far on COVID?
Blessed, you know that the minority has been very consistent on how much has been expended on the COVID-19 since its outbreak, and they have alleged that they believe the government may have misapplied some of the funds, or perhaps some corruption activities gone on with the revenue or the monies earmarked for COVID-19 pandemic. So consistently, they've been asking questions. About 3 weeks ago, you recall that they filed a question on that, and the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Joseph Osei, was to actually shut it down, indicating that the Public Accounts Committee has the powers to, investigate some of these things. So when the report is before them, they can now go through that. But the minority is still concerned. Yesterday, in fact, last Wednesday, when the president appeared before us, he indicated that 17.7 billion Ghana cedis has so far been expended on COVID-19. According to the ranking member, if you look at the 2021 budget, now remember that the 2021 budget essentially report on the previous year. So the 2021 budget actually gives you the monies or revenues captured in the year 2020. So in the 2021 budget, it reported that the government spent a little over 18 billion Ghana cedis in 2020. Now, in 2022 budget, it again reported that for the year 2021, that is this year's budget, it reported that last year, government spent a little over 2.6 billion Ghana cedis. That is between January and September. So the remainder, that is about 6 months now, we are yet to get the amount that was spent on COVID-19. So if you add the year 2020 and 2021, if you do the tabulation, it gives you a little over 20 billion Ghana cedis used. And so it is not true or cannot be accurate that government has spent 17.7 billion Ghana cedis since the outbreak. And so that has been the concern of the ranking member on the Health Committee, Kwabena Minta-Kando, who has today been debating on the President's State of the Nation address delivered last Wednesday. But thankfully, the Health Minister himself was in the chamber. And it was quite interesting when the Health Minister was on his feet trying to interject, and yet the minority MPs wanted to prevent it. But however, the second Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Andrew Wesiama, gave him the opportunity to rebut. But he indicated that clearly the ranking member, that is Minta-Kando being the Jaboso NP, is misleading the House. According to the Health Minister, the expenditure or probably the figures captured in the budget are only provisional. It is after the auditors have gone through the figures, whether there's misreporting or underreporting or misinformation, that is when they can get you the actual figures. So it cannot be true that the president misled the nation and that what is captured in the budget is the actuals. And so in the subsequent days, the Ministry of Health would, after the audit and all the nuances within the figures that they have discovered, they will now put out the actual figures or the actual amount that has been expended on COVID-19 expenditure. So that was actually the controversy.
So Parker, we also hear that Tempest fled in Parliament today.
I must say that
the Northern MP Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa was accused.
That's correct.
Actually accused
Parliament started just as a normal day where the Deputy Majority Leader of the House, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, was expected to read the business statement for next week, and indicated to the House that hopefully next week, Tuesday, barring NHIS, Parliament will adjourn or go on recess for some time. Now, in the course, the members of Parliament are given the opportunity to raise concerns. So the ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee and also the Northern MP in the Volta region, Samuel Okojata Blakwa, then raised a concern that in the last few weeks, about the last 3 weeks, he's been raising concerns about the president's failure to appear before, to furnish members of Parliament with the staffing at the presidency. And this is actually contained in an act or a provision in the Presidential Office Act. And according to the act, at the beginning of the year, the president would have to furnish Parliament with the staffing, the amount being used at the office of the presidency, and all of that. The president hasn't done that. We are in April. Today is 1st of April. That means that we've been ushered into the second half of the year. And so the first quarter is gone. Now we are going into the second half of the year. The second quarter of the year, which is problematic. So Ablakwa, to quote him, said that the president has projected himself as a paragon of rule of law, and yet he continues to breach the law. This comment did not sit well with the Deputy Majority Leader, Alexander Afenyomakin, who was in the chamber, and he strongly disagreed with his colleague on the NDC side. In fact, he ordered him to withdraw those words, and that was where the chaos started. Afenyomakin suggested that the NDC MPs were engaging in reckless heckling and that using unprintable words for the president, and he is the president, and Adan Akufo-Addo is the president of the nation, and he must be accorded the needed respect. So you cannot say anything against the president and walk free like that. And so I must say the second deputy speaker was quite frustrated. He was trying to calm the two MPs and it wasn't working. You could hear him shout at a point that, Honorable Blakwa, you could see the frustration in his face.
I get the picture.
So now, at the end of the day,
yes. So
they proceeded.
What transpired during the proceedings today when that exchange happened?
The Speaker, Section 11 of the Presidential Office Act relates to an annual report. The head note is annual report. And it provides, Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I read. The President shall, within 3 months after the end of each financial year, submit to Parliament an annual report containing the following information. A, the number of presidential staff employed at the office. B, the rank or grade of such staff. And C, employees in the other public services assigned to the office. So, Mr. Speaker, today is the 1st of April. The President is in clear breach of the Presidential Office Act. I recall that some 3 weeks ago, I raised this matter and urged the Majority Leader to liaise with the presidency to present this annual report and comply with the Presidential Office Act. Mr. Speaker, that has not been done. We still do not have the annual report on the staffing status at the presidency. And Mr. Speaker, we cannot accept this as a House. If these delays continue, it undermines the authority of this institution. And I recall that virtually every year, the President is in breach of this provision, and I have to be screaming and crying and yelling before the presidency will comply. Every year, the records are there. You can check. If you Google, it's all over. And you wonder why it has to take a lot of hue and cry to get the president who likes to project himself as the paragon of the rule of law to be violating the laws of our country in such a violent manner.
You made your point. Why, Mr. President, who projecting? I mean, I wouldn't want to repeat that, but it's unnecessary. Yes, it is unnecessary to do that, to say that. Make the point. You cannot say that of the President of the Republic. You must be courteous in the language you use, and that I would insist. We as parliamentarians must know the appropriate words to use, and the words he used in describing the President is unacceptable, and he would have to withdraw. Mr. Speaker, they can engage in reckless heckling. They can decide not to have patience and tolerate. They can do so. I don't really mind. Second, you can't rise on a point of order when I'm in the dispatch board. Wait, when I finish and sit down, Mr. Speaker can give you the right. You can't do that. Ablakwa, you can't do that.
Honorable members, please.
Sit down. Stop misbehaving.
Please. Honorable, please. Honorable Braka, please. You take your seat. I'll call you.
Mr. President, a member of Parliament does not have the liberty to attack the integrity of the President. And I say that the words he used to describe the President, he must withdraw. Honorable Okudiato Ablakwa must withdraw that statement. He must withdraw. You cannot say the President described himself as blah blah. I will repeat it.
Also, Parker Wilson is still with us. Fortunately, we understand, Parker, as well, that officials of the National Health Insurance Authority was sacked from a meeting with members of the Health Committee after it emerged that less than 10% out of a total of about 2 billion Ghana cedis collected last year was deposited into the health fund, representing about some 127 million Ghana cedis. What's the explanation for all this that's been transpiring during the engagements, Parker?
Blessed, the ranking member on the health committee in the last few weeks has been making the point that cash and carry is back, and basically it's because the health insurance scheme fund is depleted, and that the service providers are not being paid. Reason the cash and carry is back because when patients visit the facilities, the service providers demand cash from them because the fund is not paying the service provider. So when the National Health Insurance officials appeared before the committee today to go through their formula and all of that, the matter was raised, and they go through their document, and the members of the committee wanted to know how much has been realized or realized for the year 2021. According to the ranking member, a little over 2 billion was realized, and the question was asked, how much then was deposited into the schemes fund? And again, we are told by the ranking member that a little over 127 million was deposited into the fund. That is woefully inadequate, less than 10% of it. So the committee was clear that if you don't go and do what is right, we will not listen to you and go through your files. The ranking member, Kobna Mintakando, held a press conference, and this is what he's been saying.
As we have always indicated, to know how much the government of Ghana has collected in the name of the National Health Insurance Scheme with respect to 2021. As part of the practices of the House, the National Health Insurance Authority is supposed to appear before us every year, especially with respect to their formula. Fortunately, today, as part of the procedures, they appeared before the Parliamentary Select Committee on Health. They presented a document to us, which is titled National Health Insurance Authority, National Health Insurance Fund Allocation Formula 2022. We checked page 10, table 4.3.2, and by their own records, the government of Ghana has collected 2.056 billion Ghana cedis in the name of national health insurance in the year 2021. 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to the amount that has been released to the fund. I repeat, they have collected 2.056 billion Ghana cedis, and they have released 127 million, less than 10% of the amount collected. Less than 10% of the amount collected in the year 2021. Again, when we considered the 2022 budget, of which an appropriation act has been passed, we approved an amount of about 3.3 billion Ghana cedis. Now, when you look at their formula, on page 25, they are formulating their formula around 2.6 billion, whilst the budget or the Appropriation Act has approved 3.3 billion. Clearly, there's some disparity. When we asked them, the response we had was that they have received instructions to cut down this budget by 30%. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't make laws on the floor of the House for people to sit in their offices to alter the law. So, with these two reasons, we asked them to go back and come with the minister responsible for finance. Because the law of the National Health Insurance Act is clear that when you collect these monies, you are supposed to lodge it into the National Health Insurance Fund within 30 days after the collection. And you are supposed to appear before the Parliament, that is on the floor of the House, every 6 months to account for the money within the year. So with these two reasons, we have asked the officials from the National Health Insurance Authority to go back and bring the minister responsible for health, the minister responsible for finance, to explain why they have not lodged the 2.056 billion into the National Health Insurance Fund.